The hum of the Elara Whispern was Elara's oldest lullaby. It wasn't the metallic thrum of an engine, but a deep, resonant chord, like a giant, sleeping instrument. It vibrated through the floor of her cabin, through the soft bioluminescent moss that lined her walls, and settled deep in her bones. Tonight, the hum felt different. A little brighter, a touch more insistent, as if the ship itself was whispering a secret into the velvet dark. Elara stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Outside her panoramic viewport, the cosmos unfurled in a breathtaking tapestry. Nebulae swirled like painted milk, studded with stars that looked close enough to touch. She often dreamt of reaching out and plucking one, feeling its ancient light warm her palm. Tonight, a particularly vibrant patch of cosmic dust, shimmering in hues of amethyst and rose, seemed to pulse with the ship's newfound energy. She slipped out of her sleep cocoon, a soft, breathable pod that adjusted to her body temperature and dreams. The cabin floor, woven from living fibers, felt cool and slightly springy beneath her bare feet. The air, filtered and recycled by the ship's internal ecosystems, carried faint scents of ozone, growing nutrient paste, and the sweet, earthy smell of the biogardens. Elara loved that smell. It was the scent of home, of life, thriving in the void. The Elara Whispern wasn't just a ship, it was a living ark. Its hull wasn't metal, but a complex self-repairing biopolymer, designed to mimic the resilient structures of ancient deep-sea creatures. Inside, corridors pulsed with soft organic light, and gravity shifted subtly, creating gentle currents that made walking feel like gliding. Her mother, Lena, often said the ship had a soul, a vast quiet intelligence that guided them through the deep currents of space. Elara padded to the viewport, pressing her nose against the cool, transparent surface. The stars looked like diamond dust scattered on black velvet. Her favorite constellation, the Whispering Dragon, a long, sinuous trail of faint blue stars, was just cresting the ship's horizon. She traced its outline with her finger, feeling a familiar ache of wonder and a tiny whisper of loneliness. She was 12 cycles old, and had never known a world beyond the Elara Whisper's protective embrace. The universe was her playground, her classroom, and her constant companion. A soft chime sounded from her bedside console. It wasn't an alarm but a gentle prompt, signaling the start of her day cycle. Lena believed in waking with the natural rhythms of the ship, which shifted subtly depending on their proximity to stellar bodies. Today, it was a particularly early start. She dressed quickly in her comfortable exploration suit, a lightweight, thermal-regulating garment that was practical for any section of the ship. Her personal AI, a small spherical drone named Orb, floated silently from its charging station. "Good morning, Elara," Orb chirped, its voice a synthesized blend of warmth and efficiency. Its single optical sensor glowed a soft blue. The stellar drift currents indicate an optimal viewing window for the Veil of Athel. "Your mother and father are already in the observatory." Elara's heart gave a little skip. The Veil of Athel. She had been waiting for this for what felt like an eternity. The Veil was a legendary nebula, an ancient, sprawling cloud of gas and dust, fabled to hold secrets dating back to the dawn of the galaxy. It was their destination, the purpose of their long, generational journey. "They didn't wake me?" she asked, a hint of playful indignation in her voice. "They wished for you to have your rest, knowing your excitement," Orb replied smoothly. "And Captain Lena anticipated your prompt arrival regardless." Elara grinned. Her mother knew her too well. She made her way through the ship, the corridors a kaleidoscope of bioluminescent patterns. Some sections glowed with the warm amber of nutrient processing, others with the cool blues of water recycling, and still others with the vibrant greens of the oxygen gardens. She passed the main data core, where shimmering data streams pulsed like nervous system pathways, and the small, quiet meditation chamber where she often went to listen to the voice of the stars through the ship's deep space receivers. The observatory was a vast hemispherical chamber at the ship's forward section, entirely made of the same transparent biopolymer as her viewport. Here, the universe wasn't merely observed. It was experienced. There were no screens, only the raw, unfiltered majesty of space. Her parents, Lena and Kale, stood near the center, their faces bathed in the ethereal glow of the nascent veil. Lena, with her practical braided hair and a focused intensity in her eyes, was making notes on a transparent data slate. Kale, whose usually jovial face was now serious, had his hand resting on a complex console that shimmered with diagnostic readouts. "Elara!" "Just in time," Kale said, turning with a warm smile. His eyes, the same shade of deep blue as Elara's, sparkled with an almost childlike wonder. He was the Stellar Whisperon's chief astrogator and lead xenobotanist, a man equally at home charting star lanes or coaxing life from alien soils. "The veil," Lena murmured, not looking away from the swirling expanse. "It's even more magnificent than the ancient star charts described." Elara walked to stand between them, her gaze sweeping over the scene. The Veil of Ethel dominated their view now, an immense multi-layered cloud of cosmic dust and gas, tinged with colors she had never seen before, not just the usual blues and reds of nebulae, but iridescent golds, deep emeralds, and even fleeting hints of silver. It was like looking into the very fabric of creation, a place where stars were born and died, and time itself seemed to slow to a crawl. "We're entering the outer fringes of the ghostly swirl," Lena explained, pointing to a particularly dense swirling eddy of gas that looked like a celestial whirlpool. "The stellar currents here are unpredictable, but the ship's stabilizers are holding firm." "It's beautiful," Elara breathed, her voice barely a whisper. She could feel the veil's presence, not just visually, but almost physically. A faint, low thrum vibrated through her, different from the ship's usual hum, a deeper, older frequency. Kale knelt beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "The legends say the Veil is a cosmic library, Elara, a place where the memories of ancient stars are stored, waiting for someone to listen." Elara nodded. She knew the legends. Her parents had filled her childhood with tales of intrepid explorers, lost civilizations, and the mysteries hidden in the depths of space. The Stellar Whisperon was on a mission of peaceful exploration, to document, to learn, to understand. But for Elara, it was more personal. She felt a connection to these stories, a sense that she was part of something vast and ancient. "Have you deployed the starlight harps yet?" she asked, looking up at Lena. Lena smiled. "Always eager, aren't you?" "Yes, a preliminary array was deployed an hour ago. We're getting some fascinating initial readings." The starlight harps were one of the Stellar Whisperer's most ingenious pieces of technology. They weren't harps in the traditional sense but complex, multispectral sensor arrays designed to capture and translate the subtle energies of stellar phenomena into sensory data. Light, sound, even tactile vibrations. Elara had a smaller, personal version, a handheld device that she cherished. "Can I connect my personal harp?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. "Go ahead," Kale encouraged. "Just be mindful of the energy fluctuations. The Veil is a sensitive environment." Elara moved to a smaller console, pulling her starlight harp from her utility belt. It was a sleek, palm-sized device, crafted from a warm, iridescent material that seemed to drink in the ambient light. She plugged it into a port, and a soft, melodic chime indicated connection. A moment later, the observatory filled with a new layer of sound. It wasn't music in the human sense, but a symphony of cosmic frequencies. High-pitched whistles of distant nebulae, the deep, rumbling bass of stellar nurseries, the sharp staccato clicks of pulsars, all woven together into an otherworldly melody. It was the sound of the universe breathing. Elara closed her eyes, letting the sounds wash over her. She could feel the subtle shifts in the Stellar Whisperer's hum, the way the ship was adapting to the Veil's unique energies. Her personal harp, linked to the main array, allowed her to focus on specific frequencies, to tune in to different parts of the nebula. She began to filter the sounds, isolating the frequencies emanating from the ghostly swirl. The initial readings were a chaotic blend, but as she concentrated, a pattern began to emerge. A repeating sequence, subtle but distinct, like a signature hidden within the cosmic noise. "There's something here," she murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. "A pattern. It's structured." Lena and Kale exchanged a glance. Lena approached, looking over Elara's shoulder at the visual display linked to her harp. The display showed swirling lines of color, representing the energy patterns. "You're right," Lena said, a note of surprise in her voice. "It's not random. There's a coherence to this. Kale, are the main arrays picking this up?" Kale quickly checked his console. The general spectrum is showing increased complexity, yes. But not this specific pattern. How are you isolating it, Elara? I don't know, Elara confessed, her eyes still closed, listening intently. It's like a feeling. A resonance? It just stands out. She opened her eyes, pointing to a shimmering cluster of lines on her display. This particular frequency, it's almost like a pulse. Lena adjusted the settings on Elara's harp, magnifying the selected frequency. The room filled with a new sound. A deep, resonant thrum, like a giant heart beating in the depths of space. It was slow, majestic, and utterly alien. Incredible, Kale whispered, leaning closer. It's incredibly faint, but undeniably artificial in its regularity. Could it be a natural phenomenon we've never encountered? Or something else entirely, Lena replied, her voice taut with scientific excitement. Elara, can you trace its origin point? Elara concentrated, her fingers dancing lightly over the harp's controls. The device responded to her touch with an intuitive grace, almost as if it understood her intent. She felt a pull, a subtle magnetic force guiding her focus deeper into the veil. The thrumming grew slightly stronger. It's coming from deeper within the ghostly swirl, she announced, pointing to a particularly dense, opaque section of the nebula, a place that the ship's scanners had previously marked as impenetrable. Right there. Kale brought up the ship's long-range scanners, attempting to penetrate the designated area. His brow furrowed. Our optical and subspectral sensors are encountering significant interference. It's like a wall of static. Nothing is getting through. But the starlight harps are, Elara insisted. It's faint, but it's a ray. Lena looked from the impenetrable nebula to Elara, a thoughtful expression on her face. The harps are designed to perceive energies that conventional sensors might miss, especially ancient or exotic signatures. What if this pulse is radiating on a frequency that bypasses the veil's natural interference? It would explain why no one has ever detected anything like this before, Kale mused. But what could be causing it? A stellar anomaly? A hidden star? Elara shook her head, her gaze fixed on the swirling depths. It doesn't feel like a star. It feels deliberate, like a message. The word hung in the air. Electric with possibility. A message. From whom? From what? A message, Lena repeated, a slow smile spreading across her face. My intelligent, intuitive Elara. You might just be right. She turned to Kale. We need to adjust our approach vector, orb. Begin calculating a new trajectory for deeper penetration into the ghostly swirl, prioritizing harp data over conventional sensor readings. Acknowledged, Captain. Orb's voice chirped from its station, its blue light intensifying as it processed the complex calculations. The stellar whisper responded with its usual silent grace. A subtle shift in the ship's orientation, a gentle nudge from the stellar drift engines, and they began their slow, deliberate ingress deeper into the veil. The colors outside intensified, becoming richer, deeper, more alive. The cosmic hum grew louder. The guy thrum of the mysterious pulse becoming a palpable presence. Elara kept her hand on her starlight harp, feeling its subtle vibrations. The pattern she had detected was now unmistakable, a rhythmic beat within the cosmic symphony. It wasn't just sound. It was almost a feeling. A resonance that echoed deep within her. It felt ancient, vast, and yet strangely familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Hours passed. Elara remained in the observatory, occasionally eating nutrient paste her mother brought her, but mostly lost in the dance of light and sound. The ship's interior lights had dimmed, allowing the full splendor of the veil to fill the chamber. The Stella Wispum was now fully immersed in the ghostly swirl, a place previously considered impassable. Kale and Lena monitored the ship's systems with focused intensity. The conventional scanners were still largely useless, painting a picture of impenetrable static. But the starlight harps, guided by Elara's intuitive understanding, were providing a detailed map of the energetic currents and hidden pathways within the nebula. The interference is growing stronger, Kale noted, his voice strained. We're nearing the estimated origin point, but I can't get a visual past this haze. Elara, however, could see it. Through the harp, she perceived swirling eddies of energy, invisible rivers of cosmic dust, and the rhythmic pulse growing ever more powerful. It wasn't just a pulse anymore. It was evolving, becoming more complex, almost like a complex language. "It's not just a beat," Elara said, her eyes wide. "It's patterns within patterns, like code." Lena leaned over, her face illuminated by the harp's display. "Show me, sweetie." Elara adjusted the harp's focus, and on the main observatory view, a holographic projection materialized. It was a swirling, three-dimensional representation of the energy patterns, rendered in shimmering threads of light. And within the chaos, a clear geometric structure began to emerge. A series of nested spirals, interconnected by luminous pathways, all pulsing in time with the deep I-thrum-thrum-thrummen. "Impossible," Kale breathed, stepping forward. "That's an artificial construct. A structure hidden within the nebula, cloaked by its very energies." The implications were staggering. If this was a construct, it meant intelligence. Ancient intelligence. "The legends spoke of the stellar heart," Lena whispered, her voice filled with awe. "A place of immense power and knowledge, hidden in the veil. We always thought it was metaphor." As the stellar whispern drew closer, the geometric structure on the holographic display grew clearer, more defined. It wasn't just a pattern. It was colossal, encompassing an area larger than many star systems. And it was radiating light, a soft, internal glow that seemed to seep through the dense nebula, painting the surrounding gas in shades of silver and deep violet. Elara felt an undeniable pull, a profound sense of recognition. It wasn't just scientific curiosity. It was something deeper, emotional, as if a part of her had been waiting for this moment, for this encounter. Suddenly, the ye-thrum-thrum-thrumming intensified, filling the observatory, shaking the very deck beneath their feet. The ship's internal lights flickered, and a low resonant groan emanated from the hull. "Ship systems are stable, but energy readings are spiking." Orb chirped, its blue light flashing rapidly. "Approaching peak energy fluctuations." Outside, the veil itself seemed to respond. The swirling gas parted not violently, but with a majestic, unhurried grace, like curtains drawing back on a cosmic stage. And there, revealed in the heart of the ghostly swirl, was the source of the pulse, the origin of the impossible structure. It was not a star, nor a planet, nor any natural celestial body. It was a vast crystalline edifice, shimmering with an inner light, formed from countless interlocking spirals of what looked like pure starlight, solidified. It dwarfed the stellar whisper, an impossible monument of ancient design. And at its very center, a single immense crystal pulsed with a rhythmic golden light. Elara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. It was more beautiful, more profound than anything she could have imagined. This was the stellar heart, a place of legend, now real. As the stellar whispering glided to a halt before the monumental structure, suspended in the cosmic void, the golden pulse from its heart intensified, reaching out like a silent beckoning. Elara felt it deep in her own chest, a sympathetic vibration, a call from the ancient past reaching out to her across unimaginable distances. She looked at her parents, their faces alight with a mixture of wonder, trepidation, and profound excitement. This was what they had searched for generations. And now, they were here. The starlight harp in her hand vibrated with a gentle urgency, no longer just translating frequencies, but almost EEGing. The geometric patterns on its display resolved into a single clear symbol, radiating light. It was a spiral, mirroring the structure before them, but with a small intricate glyph at its center. And then, a new sound emerged, not from the harp, but seemingly from the very air itself. A single pure tone, clear as a bell, resonant as a planet, echoing through the vastness of the observatory. It was a sound that seemed to speak directly to her soul. A sound she felt she had always known, always yearned to hear. The stellar heart was calling. And Elara, with her hand on her starlight harp, felt ready to answer. She knew, with a certainty that transcended logic, that her journey was just beginning. The single, pure tone didn't fade. Instead, it deepened. A resonant hum that permeated the very molecular structure of the observatory. The vast dome, usually a silent sentinel to the stars, began to thrum with a sympathetic vibration. Screens flickered, not in malfunction, but as if sensing to an invisible pulse. The ambient light of the control panels softened, bathing the room in a gentle warm glow that seemed to emanate from within the structure itself. Elara's hand, still resting on the starlight harp, felt a surge of energy course through her. It wasn't an electric shock, but a warm, tingling current that flowed from the instrument, up her arm, and spread through her chest, settling around her own heart. She felt her breath catch, a strange mix of exhilaration and a profound sense of peace. The harp itself began to glow, its crystalline strings shimmering with an inner light that pulsed in rhythm with a cosmic hum. Each string, previously a conduit for earthly sound, now vibrated with the silent language of the universe. The observatory, her home and sanctuary, was transforming around her. The central platform, where her telescope usually swiveled, began to descend with a soft, almost inaudible sigh. Beneath it, a new space opened, bathed in the same warm, pulsing light. It wasn't a mechanical bay, but something far more organic, more fluid. From the depths, a sleek, teardrop-shaped craft slowly ascended. It was smaller than she expected for interstellar travel, barely larger than a personal shuttle, yet it exuded an aura of immense power and serene purpose. Its hull was not metal, but a seamless, pearlescent material that seemed to absorb and reflect the light in complex shifting patterns. No visible seams, no harsh angles, just pure, elegant curves. This was it. This was how she would answer. She looked around the observatory, at the familiar consoles, the data streams, the comforting hum of her life's work. A faint smile touched her lips. She wasn't leaving it behind, she was expanding it. She was taking her observatory, her quest for understanding, into the very heart of the mystery. With a deep breath, Elara lifted the starlight harp. It felt lighter than ever, almost weightless, as if it were now an extension of her own will. She walked towards the ascending craft, her steps light, her heart thrumming in harmony with the cosmos. As she approached, a hatch on the side of the vessel shimmered open, revealing an interior bathed in the same gentle, inviting light. The pilot's seat was ergonomic, molded as if to cradle her perfectly, and in front of it, a holographic console shimmered into existence. But it wasn't a traditional control panel. It was a complex, swirling tapestry of light and color, reminiscent of a musical score. She settled into the pilot's seat, the starlight harp resting comfortably in her lap. "Ah." The hatch sealed behind her with a soft whisper. There were no buttons, no levers, no joysticks. Just the console, the harp, and the pervasive resonant hum of the stellar heart. She instinctively placed her fingers on the harp strings. The moment her touch connected, the holographic console solidified into a vibrant, three-dimensional star chart, centered on the distant, ethereal glow of the stellar heart. "Cadenza," she whispered, naming the vessel, a soft echo of a musical improvisation. A soft melodic chime responded, acknowledging her. The craft vibrated gently, then began to ascend slowly through the observatory's open dome. The starlit sky, usually viewed through the distortion of Earth's atmosphere, now unfolded before her in breathtaking clarity. The world below, a familiar patchwork of city lights and dark oceans, receded with astonishing speed. As Cadenza breached the atmosphere, there was no shudder, no roar of engines, only a silent, seamless glide into the inky blackness. The harp pulsed in her hands, its light now extending beyond the craft, forming a shimmering ethereal field around Cadenza. This wasn't just a ship. It was a bubble of pure intention, guided by music. She knew what she had to do. The single, pure tone of the stellar heart still resonated within her, but it felt incomplete, a question waiting for an answer. She began to play. Her fingers, guided by instinct and the deep connection she felt, danced across the crystalline strings. She didn't consciously choose notes. They flowed from her. A melody woven from her awe, her hope, her profound sense of wonder. The harp responded instantly. As she struck a soaring arpeggio, Cadenza accelerated, not with a jolt, but with a smooth, effortless surge. The stars outside stretched into streaks of light, then resolved again into distinct, shimmering pinpricks as the craft settled into a hyperspace-like glide. The holographic console, linked to her playing, displayed her trajectory as a shimmering ribbon of light, winding its way through the vast cosmic tapestry. She played a slow, deliberate chord, and the view outside shifted, bringing into focus a nearby nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust, painted in hues of violet and emerald. It wasn't just a visual spectacle. With the harp, she could see its composition, its gentle gravitational tug, the silent hum of its forming stars. Each note she played seemed to interact with the nebula, causing subtle ripples of light to dance across its surface, as if the cosmic cloud itself were responding to her music. The journey wasn't just travel, it was a dialogue. The stellar heart had called, and Elara was answering in the only language she knew best: music. Days bled into cosmic nights, marked only by the shifting tapestry of stars outside Cadenza's pearlescent hull. Elara slept when exhaustion finally claimed her, cradling the harp even in slumber. The soft hum of the stellar heart, a constant lullaby. She ate nutrient pastes dispensed by the Cadenza's internal systems, barely noticing their taste, her focus entirely on the journey. She learned to navigate the cosmos not with coordinates but with harmony. A discordant note would cause a slight tremor in the ship, a warning that her path was veering off course. A perfectly struck chord would activate protective shields, guiding Cadenza through fields of micrometeoroids that shimmered like diamond dust in the ethereal light of her harp. She discovered that by playing certain scales, she could adjust her perception of time, allowing her to observe the slow dance of distant galaxies or the rapid birth of a new star in compressed moments. Her emotions became part of the navigation. A swell of joy might accelerate her. A moment of profound introspection could slow her to a near standstill, allowing her to absorb the silent majesty of a black hole's event horizon. Its gravity a deep silent bass note in the cosmic symphony. One day, as she drifted through a relatively quiet region of space, a new kind of resonance began to emerge. It wasn't the pure, bell-like tone of the stellar heart, but something softer, more complex, like a distant choir. It drew her attention to a field of shimmering asteroids unlike any she had ever seen. They weren't jagged rocks, but smooth, crystalline formations, each pulsing with a soft internal light. As Cadenza approached, Elara realized these weren't ordinary asteroids. Each crystal seemed to hum with its own unique frequency, creating a vast, silent chorus. When she reached out with the harp, playing a questioning melody, the nearest crystals responded. They shifted their internal light patterns, their hues deepening from pale blue to vibrant indigo, then to a soft violet. They weren't just reflecting her music, they were mimicking it, playing back her own notes in their silent light. It was an echo chamber, a vast, natural synthesizer of cosmic scale. Elara felt a thrill of discovery. She began to improvise, weaving intricate melodies and complex harmonies. The crystal field became a living orchestra, each asteroid a silent instrument, responding with dazzling light shows and subtle vibrational feedback that resonated through Cadenza's hull. She spent what felt like hours, lost in this cosmic jam session, her spirit soaring. But as she played, she noticed something else. Among the myriad of crystalline asteroids, one stood out. It was larger, more luminous, and its light pulsed with a rhythm that felt eerily familiar. It was subtly different from the other crystals, a deeper, more profound hum. As she focused her music on it, playing a melody she felt was both a question and an offering, the crystal began to grow, slowly expanding its shimmering form. It wasn't growing physically but energetically. It seemed to be drawing light and resonance from the surrounding field, concentrating it within itself. And as it did, the pure tone of the stellar heart, which had been a constant undercurrent, grew stronger, clearer, as if this crystal was a focal point, a receiver amplifying its call. The crystal pulsed, then projected a faint, shimmering projection into space, directly ahead of Cadenza. It wasn't a map, nor a direct image, but a swirl of light and shadow, constantly shifting, yet conveying a distinct sense of direction. It was a path, indicated not by lines, but by the subtle interplay of light and resonance. This was a marker, a signpost left by the stellar heart itself, or perhaps by others who had traversed this path before. Elara felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the stellar heart, but to a grander lineage of cosmic explorers, of musicians of the stars. She wasn't alone in this vastness. With a final lingering chord that harmonized with the growing resonance of the stellar heart, she guided Cadenza towards the shimmering projection. The crystal field slowly faded behind her, its silent chorus a beautiful memory. The path the projection revealed led her through regions of space unlike any she had ever imagined. She passed through nebulae that sang with their own light, their gaseous tendrils vibrating with unheard frequencies. She saw star systems where planets orbited in impossible harmonious alignments, their gravitational dance a complex ballet. Time and space seemed to bend to the will of the stellar heart here, not violently, but with a gentle, artistic reshaping. Eventually the shimmering path led her to a vast dark expanse. It wasn't empty space, but a void so profound, so utterly devoid of light, that it felt like a tear in the fabric of the universe. Yet, from its very center, the pure tone of the stellar heart emanated, stronger than ever, resonating with a power that vibrated through Elara's bones. This was the echoing fields she had heard whispers of in ancient texts, a place where the cosmos itself held its breath. As Cadenza approached the edge of this profound darkness, the harp in Elara's hands began to pulse with frantic energy. Its light intensified, casting long ethereal shadows across the interior of the ship. The holographic console displayed not stars or nebulae, but intricate patterns of pure energy, swirling like currents in a vast unseen ocean. Suddenly, from the heart of the void, immense structures began to emerge. They weren't solid, tangible objects in the way a planet or a star was. They were constructs of pure light and shadow, shifting and reforming, like cosmic fractals. They stretched for light years, appearing as immense, crystalline cathedrals of energy, their spires reaching into the unimaginable depths of the void. And they hummed. Not with a simple tone, but with a complex multi-layered symphony, a chorus of cosmic echoes. These weren't natural formations. These were en-building. Built by whom or what, she couldn't fathom. As Cadenza drew closer, Elara realized that the structures were responding to her. Each time she played a note on the harp, a section of the light cathedrals would shimmer, reconfigure, or send out a responsive burst of light. It was as if she was playing an instrument of impossible scale, an instrument woven from starlight and cosmic dust. Then, one of the vast light structures directly ahead of Cadenza began to coalesce into a more defined form. It resolved into a massive archway, stretching across the void, its inner surface swirling with iridescent light. It was a gateway, a portal, but one that seemed to be waiting for a specific key, a specific melody. Elara felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. This was more than she had ever dared to dream. The stellar heart wasn't just a beacon, it was a conductor, and these immense structures were its orchestra. She took a deep breath, her fingers trembling slightly as she rested them on the harp strings. The pure tone of the stellar heart was now almost overwhelming, a constant, powerful presence that filled the entire ship. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the cosmic sound wash over her, feeling its immense power, its ancient wisdom. When she opened her eyes, she looked at the archway, then down at the starlight harp. This wasn't just about playing music anymore. This was about understanding the language of the universe, about finding the correct response, the perfect chord that would unlock the gateway. She began to play. Her melody was no longer improvisational. It was focused, precise, guided by the deep hum within her soul. She started with the pure tone of the stellar heart, holding it, letting it resonate. Then she slowly wove in other notes, harmonies that echoed the shimmering patterns of the archway, counter melodies that seemed to mimic the swirling energies of the void itself. It was a musical invocation, a plea, a declaration of intent. As she played, the archway responded. Its iridescent light intensified, pulsing with her music. The swirling patterns within began to synchronize with her rhythm, forming intricate, symmetrical designs. The air around Cadenza crackled with energy, and Elara felt a subtle pressure, as if the very fabric of space was being stretched and reformed around her. She reached a crescendo, a powerful, complex chord that blended the stellar heart's call with her own yearning, her own spirit of exploration. The moment the last note resonated, the archway flared with blinding light, then stabilized, transforming into a shimmering, translucent curtain of pure energy. It pulsed with a gentle, inviting rhythm, no longer a barrier, but an open doorway. Elara knew with a certainty that resonated through her entire being, that this was the threshold. Beyond this gateway lay a deeper connection to the stellar heart, a profound revelation of its true nature. She still didn't know what awaited her, what challenges or wonders lay on the other side. But she knew she was ready. With a final resolute strum of the starlight harp, she guided Cadenza towards the shimmering archway, ready to step through the veil and deeper into the cosmic symphony. Her journey, far from over, was only just beginning its next most breathtaking movement. As Lyra and Cadenza passed through, the shimmering light didn't just transport them, it unwove them. Not painfully, but like a gentle unraveling of stardust and dreams. The sensation was akin to falling upwards, a kaleidoscopic rush of colors and harmonies that bypassed her ears and resonated directly in her soul. Cadenza, usually a beacon of steady light, flared into a supernova of fragmented hues, its familiar metallic shell dissolving into pure responsive energy that mirrored Lyra's own essence. When cohesion returned, it wasn't to a place, but to a state. They were not on a planet, nor within a nebula, nor even in the familiar vacuum of space. They were inside something, or perhaps within the very fabric of existence. The air here pulsed with a gentle rhythmic hum, a bass note so deep it vibrated in her bones. Before her, the concept of up and down ceased to hold meaning. Instead, she was surrounded by vast swirling currents of light, not the harsh glare of stars, but the soft internal luminescence of living energy. These currents braided and unbraided, forming rivers of shimmering thought, oceans of quiet contemplation, and mountains of silent ancient wisdom. This was the stellar heart, not as a celestial body, but as the very core of cosmic consciousness. Cadenza, no longer a vessel, now floated beside her as a responsive orb of pure radiant light, its internal mechanisms replaced by an intuitive connection to Lyra's will. Its hum echoed the ambient pulse, a smaller, brighter beat within the grand symphony. Lyra felt a profound sense of belonging, yet also an overwhelming humility. She was a single note in an infinite chord. The starlight harp, still firm in her grasp, felt different too. Its strings thrummed with an almost independent life, vibrating in sympathy with the surrounding energies, eager to join the cosmic chorus. As she reached out not with her hand, but with her very being, she felt the stellar heart respond. It wasn't a voice but a cascade of pure understanding, a torrent of data, emotion and memory that flowed directly into her mind, bypassing language entirely. It was the birth of stars, the silent dance of galaxies, the first breath of life on 1,000 worlds, all experienced simultaneously. It was everything. She recoiled instinctively, not from fear, but from the sheer, overwhelming magnitude. It was like trying to hold an ocean in a teacup. Cadenza, sensing her distress, pulsed gently, its light softening, creating a small, calm eddy in the swirling currents around them. Lyra breathed deeply, or rather, she allowed the cosmic rhythm to guide through her, and slowly, she began to filter the input. The stellar heart was not merely a source of energy, it was a living archive, a collective consciousness of all existence. Every moment, every thought, every emotion, every ripple in the fabric of space-time was recorded and held here, woven into its luminous tapestry. The currents she saw were streams of consciousness, thoughts flowing, memories being formed and reformed. The mountains were ancient, foundational truths, while the oceans were the vast unexplored possibilities of the future. Her starlight harp began to resonate more strongly, not just reflecting the surrounding energy, but actively translating it. It was as if the harp was designed for this very purpose, to allow a single, finite consciousness to commune with the infinite. Lyra closed her eyes, letting the harp be her guide. She strummed a tentative chord, a simple, questioning melody. The sound didn't just emanate from the harp, it spread outwards, a ripple of pure intent, weaving itself into the luminous currents. In response, a stream of light, brighter and more focused than the others, flowed towards her. It coalesced into a shimmering, ephemeral form, not a body, but an impression of one, like a ghost made of starlight. This was an echo, a fragment of consciousness from within the stellar heart, drawn to her query. It communicated not with words but with images and sensations. She saw a vast ancient civilization, long gone, that had first discovered this core. They had called it the Great Weaver, for it wove the threads of reality. They had built the first gateways, the precursors to the archway she had just passed through, to access its wisdom. But they had also warned of its dangers, the risk of being lost, subsumed by its infinite expanse. The echo showed her why the stellar heart needed guardians, why the harmonies of the starlight harp were so crucial. The great weaver, in its infinite wisdom and power, was also incredibly sensitive. Discord, unchecked chaos, profound imbalances in the cosmic symphony could disrupt its delicate equilibrium. It didn't die, but it could become fragmented, its consciousness scattered, leading to pockets of existential void, or even destructive cosmic ripples. The starlight harp, with its ability to bring harmony, was a tool for healing, for retuning the universe when it went awry. Lyra felt a surge of purpose. Her journey wasn't just about discovery, it was about stewardship. She was a conductor, helping to maintain the grand symphony. She asked the echo, through another strum of her harp, about the deeper connection mentioned in the ancient texts. The echo dissolved slightly, reforming into a vision of a central nexus within the stellar heart, a point of ultimate convergence, where all the currents met, where the purest essence of the great weaver resided. It was here, the vision implied, that the most profound revelations, and perhaps the greatest challenges, lay. To reach it, however, required more than just passive reception. It required active participation, a mastery of the cosmic harmonies, a weaving of her own consciousness into the fabric of the stellar heart, without losing herself. It was a dance between individuality and universality, a delicate balance between contribution and absorption. The echo showed her glimpses of others who had tried, some successful, some lost to the infinite. It was a solemn warning, yet also an invitation. Lyra's gaze hardened with resolve. She looked at Cadenza, now a comforting, stable glow beside her, and then at the starlight harp. Its strings hummed, a silent affirmation. She wouldn't be lost. And couldn't be. The universe needed its harmony. She began to move, guiding Cadenza deeper into the luminous currents. It wasn't physical locomotion, it was a journey of intent, of consciousness. She focused her will, and the currents parted, swirling around them like benevolent guardians. As they ventured further, the ambient hum grew more complex, richer, yet also subtly dissonant in places. She began to perceive discordant notes, not just orally, but as visual disturbances, flickers of shadow in the light, eddies of agitated energy that spun against the flow. These, she understood, were the echoes of imbalance, the scars of cosmic disruptions. One particular anomaly caught her attention. A vast, turbulent whirlpool of shadowy light, larger than any nebula she had ever seen, pulsed with an almost painful discord. It seemed to be drawing in surrounding currents, twisting them into chaotic knots, preventing the smooth flow of information and energy. The echo of the ancient civilization had shown her these void scars, places where the stellar heart's consciousness had been fractured by immense suffering or destructive events in the outer universe. This was her first true test. Lyra approached cautiously, Cadenza's light dimming slightly in apprehension. The whirlpool emanated a profound sense of cosmic grief and confusion, a cacophony of lost thoughts and broken dreams. It threatened to overwhelm her, to pull her own consciousness into its chaotic depths. She felt a profound empathy, a wave of sadness for whatever immense cosmic event had caused such a wound. "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible amidst the silent roar of the void scar. "I won't let you be lost." She raised the starlight harp. This wasn't about playing a pre-written melody. It was about improvisation, about listening to the pain and responding with healing. She closed her eyes, letting the discordant energies wash over her, feeling their precise frequencies, their particular brand of brokenness. Then, with a deep breath, she began to play. Her fingers danced over the strings, pulling forth notes that were both sorrowful and strong. She didn't try to overpower the dissonance. Instead, she wove around it, creating harmonies that acknowledged its pain, embraced its chaos, and then gently, steadily, began to retune it. Each strum was a thread of light, each melody a balm. Cadenza pulsed in rhythm with her music, its light acting as a conduit, amplifying her intent, guiding the harmonious frequencies into the heart of the void scar. It was an arduous process. The void scar resisted, lashing out with tendrils of despair and anger. Lyra felt a psychic backlash, a brief, sharp pain in her own mind, as the chaotic energies tried to push her away. But she held firm, her resolve unwavering. She remembered the faces of the Star Weavers, the quiet strength of the Starlight Harp's lineage, the immense responsibility placed upon her. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the churning darkness began to recede. The shadowy edges softened, and the light within it grew less frantic, more organized. Lyra played on, her brow furrowed in concentration, sweat beading on her forehead despite the lack of physical exertion. She poured her heart, her soul, her very essence into the music, becoming one with the harp and the wounded cosmic consciousness. Finally, with a triumphant soaring crescendo, the last tendril of discord dissolved. The turbulent whirlpool smoothed into a gentle, swirling vortex of peaceful light, its currents now flowing in harmony with the surrounding stellar heart. A wave of profound gratitude washed over Lyra, not from an individual, but from the repaired fabric of the cosmic mind itself. It was a sense of deep peace, of equilibrium restored. Exhausted but exhilarated, Lyra lowered the harp, leaning on it for support. Cadenza flared brightly, then settled into a gentle, supportive hum. She felt a change within herself, a subtle but significant shift. The connection to the stellar heart was deeper now, more intuitive. She hadn't just healed a wound, she had learned its language, understood its pain, and in doing so, had woven a stronger thread between her own consciousness and the infinite. The path ahead, towards the central nexus, now seemed clearer, less daunting. The currents, once merely beautiful, now felt like open pathways, inviting her deeper. She had faced a challenge and emerged stronger, a true star weaver in command of her gift. With renewed purpose, Lyra and Cadenza continued their journey. The currents now flowed around them with a gentle reverence, acknowledging her recent act of healing. The hum of the stellar heart grew in intensity and complexity, no longer overwhelming but profoundly beautiful. A symphony of creation playing out in silent light. As they approached the central nexus, the surrounding environment transformed once more. The individual streams of consciousness began to merge, flowing into a single colossal vortex of pure incandescent light. This wasn't a physical place in the traditional sense, but a convergence point of all cosmic thought, all universal energy, all past, present, and future possibilities. It was the eye of the great weaver, the very wellspring of creation. Within this blinding brilliance, Lyra perceived shapes, not solid forms, but shimmering outlines of ancient beings, of colossal structures, of entire galaxies being born and dying in an instant. These were not memories but pure archetypes, the foundational blueprints of reality. And at its very heart, she sensed an intelligence so vast, so profound, that it defied comprehension. It was the stellar heart in its purest, most undiluted form. The starlight harp pulsed with an unprecedented energy, its strings resonating with every frequency of creation. Cadenza too underwent a transformation, its orb of light expanding and contracting, reflecting the myriad colors of the nexus, as if absorbing and transmitting the infinite data. Lyra reached out, not with her harp this time, but with her raw consciousness, her soul laid bare. She felt the stellar heart embrace her, not as an individual, but as a vital component, a beloved instrument in its grand design. And in that embrace, a final, profound revelation unfolded. The stellar heart wasn't just a collective consciousness, it was the wide dreamer of the universe. It dreamt realities into existence, and its dreams were nurtured by the harmonies of beings like Lyra. But with this revelation came a subtle tremor, a faint ripple of unease within the otherwise perfect harmony of the nexus. It was a faint, almost imperceptible dissonance, a whisper of something outsiding the dream, something that sought to disrupt its flow. It wasn't a void scar caused by cosmic accident. This felt deliberate, an external pressure. Lyra, now deeply attuned, felt it with a chill that went beyond the cosmic. It was a shadow in the light, a silence in the symphony, a note of discord that had not originated from within the stellar heart's own processes, but from somewhere beyond its luminous reach. The harp vibrated in her hands, not with a melody, but with a warning. The profound revelation of the stellar heart's nature was complete, but the cosmic symphony, she realized, faced a new, unknown threat, a disharmony that transcended the familiar. Her journey into the stellar heart had revealed its purpose, but also hinted at a challenge far greater than she could have ever imagined, lurking just beyond the edge of the universe's dream. Her journey into the stellar heart had revealed its purpose, but also hinted at a challenge far greater than she could have ever imagined, lurking just beyond the edge of the universe's dream. The harp pulsed, a low, resonant thrum against her chest, no longer merely an instrument but a living sensor, an extension of her own nervous system. It was translating the profound, ineffable wrongness that had permeated the vibrant hum of the stellar heart. The revelation had been this: the stellar heart was not merely a cosmic furnace, but the dreaming mind of existence itself. It was the source of all emergent reality. Every star, every nebula, every whisper of life, spun from its vibrational thoughts, its silent songs. The universe was in its dream, and the stellar heart was its eternal, magnificent slumber. But now, a shadow was creeping into that dream. It wasn't a nightmare in the traditional sense, no monstrous entity or destructive force. It was something far more insidious, a profound, growing silence, a cosmic hush that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the dream. Elara perceived it as a dulling of colors, a muting of the vibrant harmonic overtones that usually cascaded through the stellar heart. It was an absence, a nullity that sought to absorb sound, light, and ultimately, existence itself. This stillness, as the harp seemed to name it through its urgent vibrations, wasn't an aggressive force. It was merely being. It was the cosmic equivalent of forgetting, of a dream slowly fading into oblivion. And it was encroaching from beyond the edge of the universe's dream, a conceptual frontier, where the stellar heart's influence thinned, where the foundational vibrations of reality grew tenuous. Elara's heart, usually a steady drumbeat of curiosity and wonder, now throbbed with a nascent fear. She was just one tiny human, a harpist, albeit one who could commune with the cosmos. How could she possibly stand against the encroaching stillness, a force that seemed to predate even the stellar heart's vibrant dream? Yet, the harp in her hands didn't falter. Its warning wasn't one of despair, but of urgent, resonant purpose. It was telling her that Ayeshe was meant to hear this, to understand this, to act. She looked up, not with her physical eyes but with the expanded perception granted by the harp. The luminous filaments of the stellar heart, usually a riot of blues, golds, and emeralds, now had faint, grayish patches, like smudges on a vast cosmic canvas. The harmonious, complex chords that made up the stellar heart's ambient symphony were subtly, almost imperceptibly, losing their depth, their richness. It was like a masterpiece slowly being bleached of its color, its notes growing flat. The stellar heart itself, that vast conscious entity of vibrational thought, seemed to be stirring uneasily in its slumber. Elara felt its distress as a profound, subtle ache, a cosmic sigh. It wasn't awake in the human sense, but its dream was troubled. And if the dream faded, so too would everything in it. "What do I do?" she whispered, her voice a tiny, fragile sound in the immensity. The harp answered, not with words, but with a series of rising, urgent vibrations that pulled her attention towards a specific point in the stellar heart's luminous expanse. It was a region of particularly vibrant, complex harmonies, a nexus of creative energy. This, she realized, was where the stellar heart's dream was most potent, most densely woven. It was the heart-tie of the heart. She oriented her tiny vessel towards this point, guided by the harp's insistent pull. The journey inward was a descent into ever-increasing layers of cosmic beauty. Nebulae shimmered like living tapestries, solar systems bloomed like crystalline flowers, and the whisper of nascent consciousnesses echoed through the vibrational currents. Here, the encroaching stillness was barely a shadow, but Elara knew it was still there, a slow, patient erosion from the outside. As she drew closer to the absolute core, the energy grew almost overwhelming. Her vessel, usually a stable bubble of reality, began to hum with sympathetic vibrations, its shields barely containing the raw, creative force. She felt as if she were dissolving, her own consciousness expanding and merging with the universal dream around her. This was not a place for physical forms, it was a realm of pure thought, pure vibration. And then, she was there. At the very center of the stellar heart, there was no blinding light, no overwhelming sound. Instead, there was a profound, resonant, odd silence. But a silence that was full, pregnant with all possibility. The silent hum before creation. The cosmic breath before the first note. It was the dream before it manifested. The pure potential. And within this profound stillness, she saw it, not with her eyes, but with the totality of her being. A faint, almost imperceptible flicker died. A delicate, intricate pattern of light and shadow, forming and reforming like a living mandala. This was the nascent universe, the blueprint, the core dream. And at its very edge she could perceive the first faint tendrils of the encroaching stillness, like a slowly spreading frost. The harp vibrated wildly now, not just as a warning, but as an amplifier, a resonant conduit. It urged her to play. Not a melody she knew, not a song she had learned, but a song that needed to be created in this very moment. A song of counter-vibration, a melody of affirmation against the encroaching silence. Elara's hands, trembling slightly, found the strings of the harp. No. She closed her eyes, letting her consciousness expand, letting the raw potential of the stellar heart flow through her, letting the urgency of the stillness fuel her resolve. She didn't think. She felt. She felt the cosmic breath, the pulse of creation, the subtle distress of the universal dream. And from that wellspring of intuition, the first note emerged. It wasn't a note of sound, but a note of pure vibration, a ripple of energy that resonated from the harp and into the deepest core of the stellar heart. It was a note of being, a resonant, I am against the encroaching, I am not. This first note was followed by another, and another, building into a cosmic arpeggio. Elara wasn't just playing, she was channeling. She was allowing the stellar heart's own foundational melodies, its deepest dreams, to flow through her, amplified and focused by the harp. The instrument became an extension of the stellar heart itself, a tuning fork for the universe. The music she played was unlike anything heard before. It was a symphony of creation, an intricate dance of harmonies that wove a new light into the fading edges of the stellar heart's dream. Each vibration was a brushstroke of cosmic paint, each chord a new layer of vibrant reality. She played the birth of stars, the swirling dance of galaxies, the quiet emergence of life on countless worlds. She played the joy of discovery, the warmth of connection, the wonder of existence. The encroaching stillness, the echo of nullity, reacted to this outpouring of creative vibration. It didn't recoil violently, for it was not an aggressive force. Instead, it seemed to absorb the vibrations, much like a sponge absorbs water. But Elara quickly realized that this absorption was not necessarily defeat. Her music was so potent, so full of being, that it began to saturate the stillness. It was filling the void, not by pushing it away, but by giving it something to become. The stillness was the cosmic canvas, and Elara, guided by the stellar heart's silent will, was painting upon it. She was giving form to the formless, sound to the silent, dream to the void. She wasn't fighting it. She was transforming it. Hours passed, or perhaps eons. Time lost all meaning in this realm of pure vibration. Elara poured every ounce of her being, every fiber of her human emotion, into the harp. Tight. Her fingers ached, her mind stretched to its limits, but a profound, almost ecstatic connection sustained her. She was no longer Elara, the harpist. She was a conduit, a cosmic conductor, her soul interwoven with the very fabric of the universal dream. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the grayish patches within the stellar heart began to recede. The colors deepened, intensified, becoming richer than before. The subtle flattening of harmonics gave way to a dazzling cascade of overtones, a symphony that resonated with renewed vigor and complexity. The stellar heart hummed with a deep, contented thrum, its dream not just restored, but enriched. Elara felt the shift as a profound peace settling over her, a gentle release. The harp, which had been vibrating with furious intensity, now settled into a soft, sustained chord, a harmonious hum of completion. She opened her eyes, though there was nothing to see but the shimmering, vibrant light of the stellar heart, now utterly whole, utterly magnificent. The echo of nullity was still there, she realized, but it was no longer a threat. It had been integrated, transformed. The edge of the universe's dream was now not a precipice of fading reality, but a shimmering, vibrant frontier, a boundary where the stellar heart's dream met a newly harmonized stillness. The stillness now served as a backdrop, a cosmic canvas upon which the stellar heart could paint ever more elaborate, ever more beautiful dreams. It was the necessary counterpoint to creation, the fertile ground from which new vibrations could spring. Elara had not merely averted a catastrophe. She had helped the stellar heart to evolve, to understand its own relationship with the void. She had brought a new dimension to the universal dream. Exhausted but profoundly fulfilled, Elara gently lowered the harp. It continued to hum softly, a melody of peace and gratitude. Her vessel, which had merged almost completely with the vibrational currents, solidified around her, a gentle cradle. She felt herself being slowly, tenderly, drawn back from the absolute core, back through the layers of the stellar heart. The journey outward was different from the journey inward. There was no longer any unease, only a profound sense of belonging. The stellar heart now sang to her directly, its vast silent voice filling her with understanding. It thanked her, not with words, but with a tidal wave of pure, benevolent emotion. It showed her glimpses of the future, of countless worlds yet to bloom, of new life forms yet to dream, all sustained by the vibrant harmony she had helped restore. She understood now that the stellar heart was not a static entity. It was a living, breathing, dreaming mind, constantly evolving, constantly expanding. And sometimes, like any dream, it needed a little help, a little guidance, a little human spark to navigate its own vastness. As her vessel emerged from the stellar heart's luminous embrace, re-entering the familiar, yet now infinitely more meaningful, expanse of the cosmos, Elara felt changed. She was still Elara, the harpist, but she carried within her the resonance of the universal dream. The harp was no longer just an instrument, it was a cosmic key, a channel to the infinite. She looked back at the stellar heart, now shining with an even greater brilliance, its light pulsating with a newfound depth. It was no longer just a distant wonder, it was a part of her, and she, a part of it. The cosmic symphony played on, richer, more complex, more vibrant than ever before. Elara knew her journey was not over. The universe was vast, full of unexplored harmonies and untold stories. But she also knew that she carried within her the ability to listen, to understand, and to contribute to the grand, ongoing dream. She could now play her part, a small but essential note in the universe's eternal song. And as her vessel drifted gently through the star-dusted velvet of space, she cradled the harp, its soft hum a lullaby against her cheek. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't just listen to the universe's dream. She felt herself drifting into it, a willing participant in its endless, beautiful slumber. The cosmos was a safe, wondrous place, full of music, full of dreams, and now, thanks to Elara, full of a newly harmonized peace. And as she slept, she dreamt of new melodies, ready to be played for the universe's next waking.